Hello and welcome to the weekly video. My name is James Hughes, Chief Market Analyst here at GKFX, and we're talking with Peter Tuchman from the New York Stock Exchange as ever. Peter, hello. Let's get straight on to what we were looking at last week. Now, it was a pretty quiet week in terms of macroeconomic data and real heavy news flow. Of course, we did have some stories that the market was moving, but we still saw pretty big market moves. Big moves in oil, big moves in gold. What were your takeaways from last week? What were the real things that caught your eye?
Reallocation. Last week we had the S&P 500 quarterly rebalance, the end of the quarter, the end of the half. We had an Alerian index rebalance plus the full S&P plus a massive gold index rebalance. A lot of money flowing hands. 1.5 billion shares traded on the stock exchange last Friday on the close due to the S&P rebalance. We had the big sell-off in tech, which caused people basically to take a lot of profits there and get into energies and bank stocks, okay? We've had stocks that performed really well since the election, and we've had stocks that haven't. But for the most part, the market is up fairly big. But at some point, when you're seeing quarter ends and half-year ends and big S&P rebalances, you're going to see allocation of money coming in and out of different sectors, and I think that's what we're seeing for basically for last week. This week, also last week, we saw the Russell rebalance. That is massive. The Russell 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000. These are huge rotations of money going in and out. This market is all-time highs. People have to adjust their indexes, exposure, adjust their asset management exposure, and you're going to see money going in and out. At the end of last week, we also saw 2 billion shares trade on the close. So while we haven't been basically a market that's been run by headlines, even though you had some firming up of the tech sector, which made the market rally back. We've had some dislocations between the Dow and the S&P, S&P being a little weaker. You've had days where inventories on oil came in and days where inventories came in two different ways. Oil rallied 1 point the week before and sold off again, sold off the other day and rallied back this past Wednesday. So that's basically what we're seeing. Crazy week altogether.
Now, as we said, one of those big stories last week was the oil price, and that's continued into this week as well. So what do we look at in terms of oil going forward? We have this supply glut still going on. The US is still pumping heavily. We had Libyan oil fields coming back online last week and talks about how much they're storing out at sea in tankers now. What's your outlook for the oil price?
First, I got to say that this market tends to engage oil in the past. This market has been driven by oil prices, right? So oil's move fluctuations due to inventories, due to Saudi Arabian headlines, due to oversupply coming out of the US, which is big, due to Libya, Iran, Iraq. What we're seeing is less of a reaction in the market overall to the way oil traded. Oil sold off from 52 to 42. Did the market sell off it radically as much as oil did over the last month or so? I really don't believe so. But we did see it firm up a little bit. You know, it's funny. Markets stayed in technical levels here, right? 52 is a level, 42 has been a level. It's been trading in that range. While wide, one may say a $10 range in a $45 stock or oil is a wide range, but that's the range it's been trading in. There's always support. 44 is the price where you break even here in the U.S. I didn't think it was going to break 44, but in fact it did. At 52, it gets frothy and people start hedging up their bet on the short side. But net, I think oil firms up here at 42.5, 43. Where did it close? 43 and a quarter level. So it never broke 42. 42, 44, I think was the level. Seems like it firms up at these levels. I would think that people who are involved in that industry who break even at 44 are going to start buying it at that level. Seems like it firms up. Did that affect the way the market closed? Not really that much. This market has not been engaging the oil trade, but oil has been trading quite volatilely.
As always, we're keen to get your thoughts on what we should be looking at for this week as traders and what's going to move the market around. It looks like data and big economic data is going to be a little bit thin on the ground in terms of the macroeconomic stuff. But what's on your radar for the week ahead?
So, you know, June's a funny time. It is a quarter end. It is a half end, half of the year end. We have huge S&P rebalances, Alerian rebalances, and gold rebalances. The end of last week, we saw the Russell. Huge money moving and trading hands, billions and billions of shares. We've got terrorist attacks happening on a daily basis now, and I sure hope this world doesn't get jaded by it. It doesn't seem to be affecting the market. We've got month end coming into June. I kind of think that this, as I started out this conversation, I think we're going to see reallocation coming into this market. People are going to have to evaluate where they need to take profits, what sectors have been outperforming and underperforming, and shift money around. Do I want to take a chance that there may be a little bit of a bubble in the tech sector, take some money off the table on that end, get into the banks which have been underperforming lately, and energy? Perhaps. Are we going to start buying oil stocks at this level down at the 42? Our goal in this world and in this market is to buy low, sell high. So when things are range bound and they hit a range that they've been toppy at, you sell them there. When they hit a range where they've gotten some support and foundation, you buy them. So there's nothing particularly, and we're living in a crazy world here. On a daily basis, we've had headlines that could eventually rock this market, but hasn't. There will come a day where there will be something, whether it's oil-driven, gold-driven, geopolitically driven, something to do with our administration here, healthcare-driven, that will rock this market. It could happen next week, it may not. But we're going to see, coming into the end of the month and the end of June, we're going to see a lot of money going in and out of the marketplace. We're going to see stocks trading hands. I'll be able to tell you next week what happened last week. That's all I got for today. NYSE Einstein, live from the New York Stock Exchange, GKFX, rock and roll.
Peter, as ever, thank you very much for your time. And guys, thank you very much for watching the video. Tune in next week when there'll be more from Peter, and we'll take a look at exactly what moved the markets in this week.